Outlet Liquor is your place to buy a case. Stock up and save when you shop the lowest prices available every day at Outlet Liquor. You never have to wait for a sale. The more you buy, the more you save. Only at Outlet Liquor.
What's your outlet?
Folks, welcome back to the podcast where, yes, sometimes our wires do get crossed, but our swords always are. It was a pretty exciting week these past 7 days to be a Buffalo Sabres fan. You had last weekend, which is obviously craziness, but then you follow that up with a lackluster performance in Columbus, and that sets the stage for what is this last 20-game stretch and what is this trade deadline of 2023 where a lot of noise is being made, and it's not by the Sabres. But let's get some guys in here to make some noise. As always, with our panel, it is Gatesy. Gatesy, how you feeling on this trade deadline eve?
You know, I'm almost a little worried because there hasn't been so much noise. You know, you see other teams making these bigger moves. Names, you know, a lot of people on Sabres Twitter wanted to come to Buffalo. Your Chychrons, your Myers from, a couple days ago. They're going elsewhere. They're going to division rivals. Sabres are making some small moves, picked up Riley Stillman as of now, moved Anders Bjork. So right now it's just kind of waiting, trusting Kevin Adams and seeing what Friday brings us.
The Sabres do have a lot of youth. They have a lot of guys wanting to exceed expectations. We have a guy. He's a youthful individual. He's looking to exceed expectations. You had him all fall on the Carv's countdown in the Picasso's pregame show for the Buffalo Bills. Let's welcome in here Carv. Carv, welcome to Cross and Swords podcast.
How we doing?
Doing well. How are you feeling on this trade deadline eve? We got just over 20 hours till the deadline here.
Yeah, I mean, obviously everyone wants, to go at least do something, Kevin, or, make a small move here and there. We did that with Stillman and obviously traded Bjork away today. But I think, the big thing we got to remember is we still got another 18 hours or so. So, I mean, obviously Kevin's, receiving and pitching out phone calls. I think a deal will eventually be made. But just remember, we got time. Like, not everything super fast.
I think in his tenure over the last 2 years, Kevin, GMKA, Kevin with a Y, has used time to his advantage. I think waiting, being patient, whether it was the Eichel deal, pulling the thing on Ristolainen, moving on from Reinhart, things like that. I think the one thing that's frustrating a lot of Sabres fans, is that, for example, Chychrun, these guys are going for lower prices than people expected. Now, very often there are a lot of things behind the scenes, factors going into that. But do you find that aspect of it frustrating, Gatesy and Carv?
Yeah, I mean, frustrating the fact that you've seen all these mock trades come up and the rest were so much more out of the Sabres. I know there's that one from a Chicago blogger for a Kane trade that involved Peterka, a couple first and a second, and you saw the return that Kane got. And it's just frustrating because, I mean, obviously that trade was absurd on the Sabres end. That would never happen. But you see other guys going for, first and a couple seconds, and you're like, Sabres have so many prospects. You'd think maybe it's time to move on from maybe one of them, a pick, to bring in someone now, solidify something for the next couple of years. Who knows what goes on after that? But, I saw something on Twitter, I forget who it's from, that the Sabres really don't have that depth on defense in the system. And maybe this is Kevin Adams' last run at solidifying that in this draft, kind of load up on deep prospects. He's kind of done the past previous years with guys on offense. So trusting Kevin at this point.
Carver, are you on that same vibe? Are you trusting in GMA? A little bit frustrated, a little bit antsy? What do you got?
I'm 100% antsy. I'll tell you that much. But, you see guys like Nina Ryder and Gostisbehere go for so cheap. And I believe Domi just got traded to the Dallas Stars. And Chicago had, I think, wanted a second for him. So obviously those are things we could definitely do. And we're log jammed at forward. We definitely could use some depth. But defensive wise, nothing against Riley Stillman, but he's another left-hand shot. And is he really going to cut it? I don't know, especially if this team makes a run. So I'm definitely getting a little antsy, but we got time. So
agreed. There is still time on the clock. There is still room to make it happen. Speaking of making it happen, obviously we have this past week in Sabres. Are you feeling okay despite the Columbus letdown? Because I guess you look at it between the Tampa Bay and Florida games, you would have taken, 2 out of 4 points. You got 4, but then you come home and you drop that dud against Columbus. Again, after winning against Washington 2 days before. Where are you at on this team heading into this Bruins game tonight? Where are you at the team heading into this stretch? Are you feeling good about these streaky Sabres?
I think if you had told me last week that the Sabres would have left that stretch, leaving Florida playing the Capitals and Columbus being 3-1, I think we all would have taken that. And if the Sabres are going to lose one of those games, it really sucks. That's against, the team with the worst record in the NHL. But I'd rather them lose to a team that's not trying to catch them for a playoff spot. Like, they took those points away from Washington, who's kind of just out of the run at this point, knock on wood, and Florida. And it's, they played their best games against really good teams. And we know as fans that they can compete at that level. It's just, we kind of talked about on the pregame show with Columbus that they might have an off night. And, they really did for the first 2 periods. And I think seeing how they responded from the Toronto game, I think they're more than capable of responding tonight against a really good Boston team, and at least proving that, they belong on the ice with them and they belong to make a run in this postseason.
Carv, what do you got?
I 110% agree. Like, Columbus is a huge disappointment. Like, they are the worst team in the league. That's a team you have to beat if you want to stay in this playoff race. Did a good job last week. Obviously, huge win over Tampa and Florida, but that's a win that and 2 points we need to have, especially with the brutal schedule coming up. So,
agreed. Yeah, I think you guys hit the nail on the head. You would have taken the body of work, but yeah, once you win those 3 games in a row, going into Columbus on a 3-game winning streak, you got to find a way to win that game. By the way, I got to wrap around here because I know we were talking deadline before we get on to the roster, before we get on to the remainder of the schedule. Bjork and Portillo. So Portillo was what? He was Cal Peterson 1.0.1, and that's what he became eventually. Instead of, losing him for nothing, I think this is a great move by GMKA. I mean, essentially, you got something for nothing. Would be the way I look at that in that juncture. Is it? Do you love that you keep running into that situation? Of course not. But then you got Bjork. I mean, what can you say about this trade, guys?
I mean, just get him back to the NHL for Bjork. Like, he was my favorite. If you follow me on Twitter, you can see I loved him. I always wanted the best for him. And, and Portillo, I think that's incredible because he wasn't going to sign in Buffalo. He at least get a 3rd-round pick. He didn't have one this upcoming draft. But I think, a bright side of this is they kept the rights to Ryan Johnson. Wasn't talked about at all. If they didn't think they were going to sign him this offseason, they probably would have moved him as well. So I think that, puts more of a positive spin on him signing with Buffalo this offseason.
Carv, what do you got on these moves?
I think the Portillo deal had to definitely be made. I mean, he like you said, Gatesy, he definitely was not going to sign here. Obviously, Levi's taken the whole fan base over. So that one had to be made. Bjork, obviously, that's a player's trade. Good for him. He deserves to get another shot. I mean, must be tough on one of the best forward groups in the league, and you're down in Rochester in the minors. At least he gets another shot here. It'd be nice to see what he does with it.
Will be very interesting because, when he came to the Sabres at first, I believe he was making some noise then as well. He was making an impact. So looking forward to that. And speaking of looking forward to it, Carv is on. He's making his debut, and he says he's got to talk about the crowd attendance. So let him tee this one up. Carv, the floor is yours.
All right. So, first time in a decade, first time in my life that I can remember that the team's actually, has potential here and can make a playoff push. And we're not packing the arena for the boys. I think, the record at home, especially in blue jerseys, has been extremely disappointing. But as far as the fan base goes, I could be wrong here. Obviously, tickets are pricey, parking, and no money. You have to use a card now in the arena. But I think the players deserve a little better here, as they're exceeding expectations a lot. And, if we could pack the arena, only 6 sellouts this year. If we could do that, 32nd in the league in average capacity, percentage-wise. If we can pack the arena a little more, I think we can get a few wins. Then we wouldn't have had if we didn't show up. So I don't know. That's just kind of my rant on that. I think we can offer a little bit more to the players.
Easy thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I went to the game against Columbus on Tuesday, and that was the first Sabres game I've been to in person since the 10-game win streak in 2018. You know, I haven't lived full-time in Buffalo since then, but I just forgot, walking through, the gate there and seeing the arena for the first time. There's something special about it that I really missed. And just watching the Sabres in person almost gave me a whole new perspective on the team, the players, and just the overall feel of it. And for people who, on the fence of going, don't want to be let down by the Sabres, I had such a blast on that game on Tuesday, even though they were so bad the first two periods. Then once that crowd came alive in the third period when the Sabres started to play, that atmosphere was so much fun. And I can't imagine that building when it's packed. Like, I have really faint memories of like the 05, 06, 07 playoff runs when I was 5, 6 years old. And I want to see that building again. I want to have those memories again as a Sabres fan really soon.
Yes. The sooner we get that home ice advantage back, the sooner the Sabres will be able to profit. You're right, Carv. I mean, hit the nail on the head. First time in your lifetime that we're in contention. We got to be packing the barn, not KeyBank Library, as Al likes to call it. Speaking of library, there were a lot of groans. There were a lot of silence when this move came across the timeline. Dahlin to the IR, but then Lazowski, who's been hot, by the way, with some of these scoops, notes right away that again, this is a paper move. This is the Sabres have been doing these paper moves that are like really emotional. Like, it's pretty crazy. Like whether they're moving someone or signing Michael Hauser, it's like, what is going on with like all of this? But I'm curious your guys' take on it. Just, do you think that this Dahlin injury is something that's going to take more than like the next week, or is it going to be, right back to it once he can qualify after the Lightning game?
I just find it weird how it's pretty quiet on the whole injury front. I know it's two totally different situations, but it's giving me similar vibes to, the Jack Eichel injury before that all fell apart. Obviously two totally different things, but it's just weird that, we're not knowing too much. He practiced one day and now he's on IR. I'm hoping for the best, and I'm hoping after these, 2 weeks that he'll be back in the lineup, get him in slowly. But we saw the Sabres team really needs him when they're not at 100% offensively. He brings so much to the blue line. That Columbus game, that Power-Giharu pairing was dreadful. They were bad all night.
Bad.
I think they need Dahlin out there to really keep the team going, and he brings so much when he's on the ice, and I'm just hoping he gets back on the ice soon and it's not as bad as we hope. It's just more of a contract situation in terms of getting guys in before the deadline and getting guys out. So hoping for the best.
Carv, are you worried? What are they saying in the group chat right now?
I mean, I haven't checked the group chat yet, but I could imagine people are freaking out. So obviously it's a paper move. I think he'll be back for Edmonton Monday. I think.
Oh my God! If he's back Edmonton Monday, this is the definition of much ado about nothing.
Oh yeah, we'll be. I think if he comes back Monday, we'll be in good shape. If we lose and pass that, oh boy, things get interesting. But I'm really looking at Alex Tuck. If we can bring him back before, I don't know, April 1st, that'd be really nice. But IR for Dahlin, it's a loss. It's a loss. We need him back.
Agreed, and it's a loss for the team. And guys had to step up. And that goes to my next point. Speaking of a win for this team and someone who is stepping up, Jack Quinn. Obviously, the guy is playing with his head on fire. He does get the benefit of playing with Tage Skinner, playing with some more potent players. But Gatesy, Carv, talk to me about your thoughts on Quinn and maybe one other player you're targeting to step up down this stretch run, especially with Tuck and Dahlin hurt.
I think something I was super worried about with Quinn hopping on the first line is anytime in the past year that they've split up that top group, everything's just gone poorly, like really bad. And Quinn's taken over that first line and just meshed so well with these two players. And he's someone that's been hot and cold all year. And it's kind of just been the way things have gone. But on this first line, playing with the Sabres top players, he shows that he belongs there. He's producing points. And it's, making me question, he can go up there. Maybe other guys can fit in that first line that can produce as well. Peterka, I think, is a guy, if the Sabres can get him going, get some of that secondary scoring from that younger line, it's, that playoffs are really, really possible for this team. But especially like those two young guys, they get points going. Pair that along with Thompson, this team should be fine going into the postseason run.
Yeah, I mean, Gates, you beat me to the punch there with Peterka. But Quinn, in February, he's having one of his best months. 10 games, he's got 8 points.
Yeah.
And I believe he's on a 6-game point streak. So the guy has been red hot.
Yeah.
If he can continue that, and we obviously get help from Peterka, who we might have found something on that power play too with that one-timer. Boy, oh boy, he was just firing them. But if we can get them going, get some depth, our fourth line cycle a little bit, I think we'll be in a really good shape and definitely could make a playoff run. I think it's more of I think the difference in the playoff conversation is if this team can make it, not like, can they?
Yeah.
That's my take on that.
It'd be cool to see Olofsson, putting up points again. That'd be really helpful, I think, because he's
Victor
just
has gone silent. We can definitely use him, especially tonight as an underdog against Boston. Before we get into the Boston Bruins talk, tonight's pregame show. First off, the Cross and Swords podcast brought to you by Outlet Liquor, your place to buy a case. Make sure you make it happen there as we head into spring and the Sabres head into spring. But one last one before we get into the game. Again, the pregame show. I'm going to ask this on every podcast from between now and the end of the season. No playoffs disappointment? I say yes.
Yeah, I think the needle's definitely moved. We had this conversation a couple months ago. I mean, we were having must-win games. We were trying to get out of like the lottery situation in November. And I think one thing we all know about Buffalo sports fans, it's just very passionate one way or the other. And now that there's a little glimmer of hope, the fans want to see success. And we know it's possible. Like, you see the Sabres play against really good teams, they do well. And I'm hoping that they can continue that, be consistent the rest of the year. And again, if we had this conversation in October, like where we're at now, I think we'd all be really happy that, they're in playoff contention. But I think fans might want a little bit more at this time. And I know I'd be disappointed. I want to see this team play more games, break the drought. Like, it's been 12 years since then. I want to see this team in the postseason really badly.
Oh, yeah.
I know where Carv is laying in on this.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. 110%. I compare this situation to kind of like how the Jets were this year. Low expectations. I shouldn't say low, but, they weren't favored. So you come in, it's kind of opposite. So they started off red hot. We started off slow. And you get to this certain point where all of a sudden the expectation rises. I think it would definitely be a disappointment, but it would not be the end of the world. I think, we have years on prospects coming that are elite, and we're really in good shape for the future. I think it'd definitely be nice, though, to make the playoffs this year, and would definitely be a disappointment if we miss it.
On a scale of 1 to 100, how big a disappointment?
60.
Okay. I would say like Dawson Knox, an 88. I'm almost at a full-on 90 percentile, so we'll see. But, hey, thank you for sticking with us through the percentile. Shout out to our panel. Carv making his debut. Kudos to you, man. Make sure you're following Carv. Where can we do that? C Hayek 12
on Twitter at Carson Hayek, Instagram C Hayek _12. Yeah.
Okay, I was getting you on the gram, and of course at Gatesy35, making it happen. Thank you for making it happen. We are going to be right back with our Boston Bruins Buffalo Sabres pregame show, but before that, a quick ad from our friends at Outlet Liquor.
Outlet Liquor is your place to buy a case. Stock up and save when you shop the lowest prices available every day at Outlet Liquor. You never have to wait for a sale. The more you buy, the more you save. Only at Outlet Liquor.
What's your outlet?
And we just flipped the switch, folks. It's game night. It is Buffalo in Boston, looking to make moves. Let's face it, folks, we're nervous. I mean, we needed that game against Columbus the other night, plain and simple. Sabres will go into Boston tonight as pretty large underdogs. But for our quick pregame show here, we got Gatesy35 and, of course, our guy, Carv. Let me get into it, gents. What needs to happen for the Sabres to get a win in Beantown tonight?
They got to come off hot. That Columbus game took them 2 periods to really get going. They can come out of Boston that first period against Boston, show that they belong. I know they can finish out that rest of the game. Sabres normally, once they start a period off good, they can kind of coast through the rest of the game, play their way. But if they start off slow, that's when they really get into trouble throughout the year.
Carv, what do you got?
I think we really got to stay out of the penalty box tonight. You really can't shoot yourself against this own team. So you stay out of the penalty box, you get a clean game, can't make stupid mistakes, cannot have the neutral zone turnover disaster that we had against the Maple Leafs the other night. And, I think you hang in with him the third period and hope to see what happens, especially if Swayman plays tonight. That is a huge difference.
I want to leapfrog on that. I believe it is Swayman expected in that. I'm going to look that up here. But, yeah, you're right. Nobody wants to run into Ullmark right now. It doesn't matter who you are. Getting Swayman a huge difference. I think it's exactly like you said. The Sabres stay gritty. Sabres stay in it. And they get this game to overtime just like they got the last game. And they win it 3-2. I spoiled on my prediction. Obviously, bet the under there. But with that said, we got a big topic tonight. It's UPL and net. At least that's what you guys told me in the pregame. So all responsibility on both of you. With that said, UPL, our guy, he's back. This is his first start since the Toronto debacle, correct?
No.
He played in the goat head jerseys against.
Oh, he played versus
team.
Capitals. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
so he had a not so great start there either. People were kind of like snapping about it. So this is a big start. This is a big spot. He got the win. He got his comfortable, allowed 4 goals in 1 performance like he typically tends to do. A lot of his haters say that. He gets a lot of wins by allowing 4 goals. With that said, I think that he stands on his head tonight. I think that this team really needs something. I think that plain and simple, you got no Dahlin. You got no Tuck. So you're going to lose a little bit on the offensive side. You're going to lose a little bit on the defensive side. And those are big puck movers on both sides of the ice. With that said, I think you're going to need more out of your goalie, and UPL is up to the test. Are you guys feeling confident going in with UPL tonight into Boston?
Yeah, I'm a huge UPL guy. I believe in him a ton. I think the stuff he gets online, I don't think it's really worth, what people are saying. He's 23 years old. I said earlier today that, Ryan Miller was 25 when he finally got his full-time gig with the Sabres. UPL's got time. It's not right. I'm not ready for him to ship out of here. Give him the looks. He's saved this team so many times throughout the year. And a lot of the times things have gone badly, like that Toronto game. The Sabres weren't winning no matter who was in net for them. And he's been known to, show up in these big moments. And this team really responds after they really lay an egg the game before. So I think tonight against the Bruins, the Sabres show up, they play for him. And I think it might be a really good game.
Yeah. I definitely have confidence in the kid. It's been a bit of a roller coaster this year with him. But I think when he really slows the game down in his head, this takes time too with goalies. But if he can slow the game down in his head tonight in a chaotic environment in Boston and make a few saves early, I think we'll be in good shape. His last 5 starts, .879 save percentage, .825. Good game against San Jose with .943. Obviously, that debacle against Toronto. And then .867 against Washington. I think if he can get his feet under him, slow the game down early, he'll be in good shape tonight, and we got ourselves a chance.
Seriously. Now, do you think Boston's out for blood considering we beat them the last time we played them in Boston? Do you think there's very that? But that game was 2 months ago. It feels like a lifetime. It was technically last year.
Yeah, it's been a great week and a half, 2 weeks to just be a Bruins fan. Everything that could have gone right for them has gone right. Ullmark scored. They re-signed Pasta. Made a couple great trades, and it's I feel like the world's at the palm of their hand right now, and maybe they look past this Buffalo game. But they're probably going to come up for blood. Sabres beat them on their home ice. Imagine this team, the Sabres, beating the Bruins twice in their own rink this year. It'd be a little crazy.
Yeah, I don't think they'll be out for blood. You lose sometimes. It's what it is. I don't think it'll be any different than any normal game, but I think, the Bruins are just absolutely stacked. Obviously, I don't know where they're getting the money from with Bertuzzi today. They make the trade for that. Hall goes on IR and then re-sign Pasternak to a massive extension. But I think, the morale is extremely high in that Bruins team right now. Could they come in a little cocky? Absolutely. I think so. So you get off to a good start tonight. You definitely got a shot, but I don't think it'll be any different compared to any other normal game for the Bruins tonight.
I do love the idea, and you guys have spun the narrative. It is all, or Gates, you started. It has all gone so well for the Bruins the last 2 weeks. It's prime for the Sabres just coming in and ruining everyone's night with 2 goals from Victor Olofsson or something. So with that said, I agree with what you said, Carv, is that the key to any sports success is staying even keel, treat it like any other game and everything like that. With that said, you got no Tuck. You got no Dahlin. Is there anything you maybe focus on the game plan if you're the coaching staff, maybe try and take advantage of maybe play Owen Power a little bit more in a tough spot? I don't know. You guys got any thoughts in that regard?
I really think that it's just that energy. I think the Columbus game is just a little flat. They fell behind early, and I don't know if this team just thinks that they can come back in games and just think they're that good enough, but they can't do that against Boston. And I think Don Granato can get this team ready to go tonight. I loved his press conference after the Tampa Bay game, where he talked about how this team, they knew they played poorly against the Maple Leafs and they were going to come out hard against the Lightning and win that game. I think they know how badly Tuesday went against the Blue Jackets. They're going to come out, play well. And 2 points, I don't know, but I think you're going to watch a good hockey game tonight.
Yeah. I think you really got to take it 20 minutes at a time, shift by shift, because bad things are going to happen tonight in Boston. Let's be honest. This team's way better than us, probably the best team in the last 50 years. So things aren't going to go right every shift. We got to do our job tonight. We got to focus on ourselves, hang in there, maybe lay a head or two, and slow the game down. I think we'll be all right.
Wow. Carv has been a voice of reason when we needed it most. When the times have look at him. He's feeling it. He's feeling pepped up. I love it. What a great performance from Carv on his debut here on our Crossing Swords pregame show, brought to you by Outlet Liquor. And speaking of which, let's get into it. It's time for those Outlet Liquor predictions. Gents, I'll let our guests go first, our first-time guests go first. Carv, what do you got happening in Boston tonight? Final score.
I don't think you guys are going to like this one, but we're going to go.
The other night, our panel picked 5-1 Blue Jackets.
Yeah.
That didn't work out. But anyway, I'm going to go 4-2 Boston. Get the empty netter late. And not to get off topic here, but Anaheim did just make a trade. If you guys could possibly get that. I don't know who it was. It might have been Klingberg.
Oh.
Wait, they didn't trade him to the Sabres, did they?
No. I mean, it could have.
Because I'm not a huge charts guy, but I've seen his charts, and I know they're not good. We'll pull that up real quick. Yeah. And again, we got this happening 2 minutes ago. What? We got Dylan Sakura from Chicago. Wait, no, we didn't. That's not the one we're talking about, are we?
I don't think so.
No.
I mean, while you look at that, Maniac, I can give my prediction for the night.
Yeah.
I just think it's going to be a high-scoring game, knowing Sabres, knowing Boston, UPL Swayman. Sabres got to Swayman last time. Who knows if he comes out hot again, but I think 5-4 overtime, Sabres again.
Oh, yeah.
Take that point. Well, I guess they take 2 that time, but I think we're in treat for a high-scoring affair tonight, I'm hoping.
I can't find anything on Klingberg. What do we got, Carv?
It was Frank Cervelli, so I'm not sure what it was, but...
Not sure what it was. Just starting rumors now?
I'm not sure. I saw on Twitter, Frank Cervelli tweeted.
Okay, all right. That's an exclusive from Carv. Frank Cervelli tweeted. That's an exclusive. Again, I like Gates's prediction. I got it going 2-2 into overtime. I got UPL standing on his head. Give me that game winner, Tage Thompson. This has been a series, this stretch of games, I think you're going to look back. And yeah, the Columbus loss was an absolute downer, but you're going to look back and it's going to be that Lyubushkin OT goal is going to be synonymous with the DeAndre Hopkins helmet catch against the Bills. When the Bills went on that regular season run after that to win the remainder of all their games, that's going to be how we're going to look at the Lyubushkin. They're going to be like 15-5 after that, because it was just such a moment. And this is another night where we get a moment in Boston. Thank you for sharing your moments with us here on the Crossing Swords pregame show. Huge shout out to our panel. Again, we got Carv, Gatesy, and myself, Maniac. Thanks for following along to the one show where, yes, sometimes our signals and wires do get crossed, but our swords always are. It's about 3 words, and that is, let's go Sabres.